Okay.
Okay. So, good afternoon, friends. I am very happy to be here with you today. I sincerely thank Stephen and the organizers for having me here on this panel. I would have loved being with you all today in person. However, with the current COVID situation, I believe this is the best that we can have. Just before I move on, I just wanted to make sure that everybody is able to hear me. Am I audible? Yeah? Yes or no? Stephen, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, just to, as we start on, the world is witnessing unprecedented turn of events when an invisible virus has brought the world to a standstill. Superpowers are struggling to maintain their superpower status. Businesses are struggling to protect profits and somehow sustain. People are scared of losing jobs. Small businesses are facing risk of closure. No one knows when life would get back to the known normal, or would this become the new normal. I understand that in our audience today, we have many college students and young professionals. I welcome you all. I can understand that there is a lot of anxiety in your minds. Whirlwind of thoughts are racing in your mind at all times these days. The biggest question looming in our minds is, where will I find a job now? Some of you have been placed through campus recruitments and are worried whether the companies will stick to their commitments. Even if they do, whether the company is still the company you want to work for in the post COVID scenario. For those of you with an entrepreneurial bent of mind, you may have an anxiety on whether this is the right time to start your own business. For those of you who are in jobs, are worried about sustaining them. I think the first thing that we all need to accept is that certain situations are beyond our control. And this is definitely one of those situations. We don't have any control on what's happening in the world.
Okay.
While we can't do much about the global challenge that nations across geographies are facing today, what we can possibly do is whatever is in our control. Each and every one of us
Okay.
faces problems. Imagining a problem free life would be just wishful thinking. But that doesn't mean that we need to remain in a state of anxiety. This is not the only problem that has come in your life, right? We have always had problems, big or small, in our lives before also. If you think back in hindsight, you have emerged successful from all your past problems. Each problem that you have faced in the past at that time was probably the biggest problem for you. Today, those problems have made you better, stronger, and wiser. So problems are all learning opportunities, and I would strongly urge you to look at it that way. Now, I've been asked to speak about leadership today. Leadership is not about positions. It is not about corner offices. It is not about titles. If we believe that I can't lead if I am not at the top, then we are wrong. If we believe when I get to the top, I learn to lead, then we are wrong. If we believe that people would only follow me if I were the top leader, then we are wrong. If we believe that I can't reach my potential if I'm not the top leader, then also we are wrong. Leadership is a really vast subject, and we do not have time enough today to even cover the broad aspects on this subject. However, what I would do is I would want to touch upon one critical trait that not only guarantees becoming a good leader, but also a great individual, which ultimately we all want to be. Leadership is all about enhancing influence. Good leaders always work towards enhancing their influence. One aspect that all good leaders are conscious of is they control their attitude, which is what I'm going to talk about today. Controlling your attitude. Because all good leaders control their attitude. Our attitude towards people, towards our colleagues, towards our family, towards life situations is always in our control. A successful person is not a person with a certain set of circumstances that I tell that, oh, I was born with a golden spoon or I was born with a silver spoon and I didn't have I didn't have a good upbringing. I didn't get good education. So these are all circumstances, but ultimately, if you see, there are hundreds of examples all around you where you see that a successful person is not a person with a certain set of circumstances, but a certain set of attitude. It's not what happens to me, it's what happens in me that counts. There is this story about a farmer who is passing through the jungle with his donkey when the donkey slips and falls into a deep pit. The farmer tries a lot to get the donkey out, but he is unable to. He finds few other people passing through the jungle and seeks their help. All of them try, but are unable to get the donkey out. They ultimately decide that since it is impossible to get the donkey out, let's bury the donkey in the same pit and start putting in the sand to fill up the pit. The donkey, which has got all the willpower to emerge out of this problem, shakes off the sand off his body and jumps up every time the sand is thrown at it. Gradually, the sand level rises in the pit and the donkey is able to emerge out of the pit. So, the attitude to succeed and emerge out of any problem led the donkey to come out alive. And such attitude is no less applicable to us human beings as well, right? We also, until we want to succeed, we will never succeed. In fact, the true character of leaders emerges in tough times. Such times have got all the power to break you, but only if you let it break you. Some people are natural cribbers and they would crib irrespective of the situation. And some people have all the difficulties in life, but would still be jovial with the right mental attitude. Now, there was this gentleman who used to crib every afternoon when he opened his tiffin in his office during lunchtime. Again, the same halloumi cheese sandwich. Again, the same halloumi cheese sandwich. Oh, I hate halloumi cheese sandwich. So his colleagues asked him, why doesn't he tell his wife to prepare something else for his lunch rather than the halloumi cheese sandwich which you hate so much? He gets angry at his colleagues and says, keep my wife out of this. I make my own sandwiches. So if you were to be hired by a company, obviously they would look at your skills, they would look at your competencies. When you are seeking growth and promotion in an organization, the company looks at how ambitious you are, whether you aspire to grow in the organization. They would also see if you are skilled, if you are competent for that new role. But more importantly, they would see your attitude towards the company, towards the people, and towards the excessive demands on time and energy. What is your attitude on that? That would be the determining factor. All things being equal, if there are two persons with the exact same set of qualifications, with same set of experience, with same set of competencies, the person who gets promoted is who the one with the right attitude, right? So attitude, therefore, is a major qualifier. It's a major qualifier, and it can be a major disqualifier for some. So if your attitude is not right, you may be the most talented person in the room, but if you're not having the right attitude, you may not get the promotion. You may not get the growth. And our attitude is our choice. It's completely our choice. Now, I have been fortunate to have worked in various geographies and I've lived in various countries. Recently, when I was there at a keynote speech, I was asked by an audience member, which place out of the various places that I have lived in makes me happy? I said, the happiness depends on me and not the place. I am happy wherever I am. If I have the positive attitude, my happiness is not dependent on the place I live. It's dependent on me. Our attitude helps us attract others with positive attitudes. When we are positive, we will find positive people. Attitude helps us become more successful. But bear in mind, Attitude cannot replace our talents and skills. Attitude is important, but you need to have the subject expertise. When you go for a job, you cannot say that I've got a very good attitude. I don't know the work to do. So would they hire you? No. You definitely need the skills. You definitely need that talent. You definitely need the subject expertise. But attitude is what is going to add on. Attitude is what is going to take you further in life. Once I was invited to speak at a session on happiness, and me and my wife both were there, and my wife was sitting there in the audience. One of the audience members stood up at the end of the session and asked me if she could ask a question to my wife. I said, go ahead. She asked my wife, does Nalin make you happy? I thought to myself on hearing that question, my wife is surely going to say yes. I was stunned when she said no, he doesn't make me happy. I was looking at her in shock. People have paid to come to my conference, and my wife is saying I don't make her happy. Then she said, after our wedding, for the first 6 months, she always expected me to make her happy. But he was always busy in the early years of his career and his frequent travels. Then, she continued, she realized that no one else except for herself could make her happy. And the day she realized that, from that day onwards, Nalin has always added to her happiness. I was so much relieved. The point I'm trying to make is that we are responsible for our own happiness and our attitude. Our attitude can be our best of the best friend, or it can be our worst enemy. Our attitude can draw people to us, or it can repel them. We all we all talk about success. We all talk about happiness, and we all want to be successful. As human beings, we all want to be successful. But what success really is it getting wealth like Bill Gates? Is it sporting abilities like Michael Jordan? Is it philanthropy like Mother Teresa? Is it about getting creative and imaginative abilities like Walt Disney? I believe success is a journey and not a destination. Success is about adding value to yourself each day and achieving the tremendous potential that we all are blessed with. Whatever is happening today in the world was not expected by anyone, but take it as a blessing in disguise. Consider it as an opportunity to develop yourself further. Don't consider that the degree you have got from the college is the be all and end all of life. Schools, colleges are foundation stones in your career, but learning doesn't have to stop there. So remember, today's investment is actually tomorrow's return. Many a times, knowing fully well what is right, what is not right, we still want to follow the easy path. But remember, life will never become easy because it was never meant to be easy. If it was easy, we all would be robots doing the same thing every day. There would be no excitement, no passion, no satisfaction, no happiness. It is too easy and comfortable being average. We can all be average. Just do the minimum just to sustain ourselves. It is very easy to be average. But always remember, being average never gets good grades. Being average never gets you promotions. Being average never gets you salary raises. Being average never gets you to achieve your true potential. We have to keep on striving hard. We have to keep on making sacrifices in our lives to progress further. That's what leaders are all about. We have to give up to go up. Sacrifices are so important. Sacrifice may sound to be such a negative word that you need to give away something or deprive yourself of something. But I tell you, in fact, sacrifice is an extremely positive word.
We are giving away something of a lesser value in return for something more worthy, right or wrong? Giving away the good for getting something greater is, I believe, a worthy sacrifice. The higher you have to go, the tougher the trade offs. Sacrifice could be anything, maybe watching less TV, sleeping less, not socializing that much, not partying that much, spending lesser time with friends. Again, I'm not saying that friends are not important. Friends are extremely important. They are our backbone, they are our support function. But you need to constantly monitor your friend circle and keep on assessing whether your friends are taking you uphill. Anything worthwhile is uphill. Better to stay alone than with friends who bring you downhill. Doesn't mean that if you are alone, you have to get into the wrong company. Put brakes on our success by our self limiting beliefs. Once a man was passing the elephants. He suddenly stopped, confused by the fact that these huge creatures were being held by only a small rope tied to their front leg. No chains, no cages. It was obvious that the elephants could, at any time, break away from their bonds, but for some reason they didn't get away. Well, the trainer said, when they were very young and much smaller, we used the same size rope to tie them, and at that age, it's enough to hold them. As they grow up, they are conditioned to believe they believe the rope can still hold them. So they, but because they believed they couldn't, they were stuck right where they were. And this is what happens with us most of the time. We make these self-limiting beliefs so strong that we don't even attempt to do things we always wanted to do. We start valuing others' opinion of ourselves so greatly that we undermine ourselves. Have confidence in your abilities, dream big, and always work towards polishing yourself. The biggest investment you can make is in yourself. We will always have excuses and opportunities to blame others. Never play the blame game. We will always have our parents, our bosses, our spouses, our siblings, the traffic, paucity of time, weather, economy, corona. We'll have hundreds of excuses to blame. But that's not we should be. She didn't know how she was going to make it. She was tired of fighting and struggling all the time. It seemed just as one problem was solved, another one soon followed. Her father, a chef, took her to the kitchen and he filled 3 pots with water and placed each one of them on a high fire. Once the 3 pots began to boil, he showed it to the daughter again. The potatoes were now soft, the egg was hard boiled, and the coffee was in the ladle and it was like the water had turned into the coffee. So the father asked, daughter, what do you see? She says, potato, eggs, and coffee. He said, look closer. The potatoes have become softer. They all face the same adversity, but they all reacted differently. Potato went in strong and hard, unrelenting, but it became soft and weak. Egg was fragile, it became hard. And the coffee was unique. After it was exposed to the water, it changed the water and created something new. So, which one are you? I also ask you today, are you a potato? Are you an egg? Or a coffee bean? Yeah? So don't overthink, don't feel anxious. In life, howsoever best we plan, still not everything may go as planned. So don't worry, things beyond your control, you cannot do anything. But remember that we can stay behind closed doors and stay paralyzed by self-limiting beliefs, or we can open up and take life head on and excel in life. Good luck for a very bright future. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Stephen.
Wow, wow, that's so fantastic. Thank you very much, Nadine. It was an amazing session. Okay, we're talking about attitude and the likes. So I have a question to ask from you. Okay, as a student, how do you think I can improve on my attitude?
Morning, I think when we wake up, we have to start believing that today will
Okay,
be a good day. Open open your eyes with a positive mindset.
okay,
Yeah. Maybe wake
okay,
up like 10 minutes so that you're not rushing to work, you're not rushing to college. Because when you have got positive time, you will tend to get angry with people. If you find traffic on the road, you'll get angry with people. So where you are failing short, why you are getting that angry, why the positivity is not there. So I think it is also a choice. You have to be to decide that okay, today is a good day, and you believe that today is a good day. I am not going to speak with anger to anybody. I am not going to scold anybody. I'm not going to hate anybody. Live your life one day at a time. We may talk about losing 20 kgs in a month, but that will never happen. We should think about 100 grams every day or 200 grams every day. So think small. Make micro resolutions that today's day I will be positive. At least for today, I will not fight with anybody. At least for today, I'll not get angry at anybody. You will see the difference. You will get that positive attitude.
okay, good. How about in the process of think of believing in positivity and you are being rejected from what you'll be doing? So how can you work on it?
Stephen?
Hello? So were you able to hear me? Hello?
Yes. Your question before. Can you repeat your question, please?
Okay, okay, I asked that how, okay, if someone is being rejected and you talking about attitude, so how can someone work against wrong attitude in rejections? Sometimes as students, you might be applying for different roles, you might be willing to do so many things and things are not working well for you and you're putting in your attitude, you're putting in your best in it. So what will be your piece of advice for anyone that is into such a shoe?
Uh, I understand your question. What would be my advice to people who are putting in their best but not succeeding? Is what you're saying? The line is bad, Stephen. I suggest is if it is possible, maybe you can type the question in the chat box because I was getting the call dropped in between. Can I request everybody to just drop their questions in the chat box, and I can take
Okay,
one by one because the voice is breaking.
Okay, the question I asked that how do you create a better attitude in the midst of rejections as a student?
Okay. So the thing is, if you are rejected, how do you keep a better attitude? Yeah. So see, rejection doesn't mean that there is something wrong with you. Rejection is not necessarily because you are not worthy. Rejection could be for 100 reasons. Maybe they are not looking for a person with your competencies right away. But that doesn't mean that other companies also don't need that kind of competency. So rejection at one place, rejection at two places, rejection at three places doesn't mean that you are not worthy. I'm sure you all have heard about Harry Potter. You've heard about J.K. Rowling, right? You've heard about J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter series. Have you watched the Harry Potter movies? Have you read the Harry Potter books? Any of you? Yeah. So J.K. Rowling, the author, she got rejected 12 times before she was taken up. Her book was considered for printing. The 13th publisher finally agreed to print her copies, and he only gave her an advance of £1,500 and said that he will try it out by printing some 500 copies to start with. And he was also not confident in the idea, but still he agreed. So the point is that rejection is not a benchmark of your competency or skills. If you are confident in your abilities, if you have done your hard work, if you have done what you were supposed to do, rejection may or may not happen. Failure will be bound to be occurring in our lives. Until we fail, we are not going to succeed. The path of success is through failure only. You look at Walt Disney. We all know Walt Disney movies. We know Disneylands. He was rejected 200 times before he got the funding for his first Disneyland. What would have happened if even after 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, he would have dropped the idea that everybody is rejecting? But he had confidence in his abilities. Jim Carrey, the wonderful actor, he was working as a janitor, but he made out a check of $1 million and kept in his pocket on the confidence that today I am a janitor, but I will definitely get $1 million soon. And everybody knows the story. So don't consider rejections as your assessment or your uh, result, your um, benchmark of success. Rejections are bound to happen.
Good.
So I have a question. Can I apply for a role I'm very competent in, even if I'm not qualified for on paper, and how can I present my case? So see, as I said that if there is a specific requirement for a job that you need to be having certain set of qualifications, then it is very likely that you may not be picked up. Because if the organization's first filtering criteria is that you need to have a certain set of qualification that you must have, then definitely you should have that. If you are able to demonstrate your skills and abilities, fine, do that. Go for an interview if you are called for and try to put your best foot forward. Tell them that even though you don't have the proper qualification, but you have got practical experience, you have done this work. Maybe you may offer, since you don't have the qualification, maybe you offer that I can come to you at a $500 cheaper price than a qualified person, but I will probably do the better work than that person. So that is again up to you if you are able to convince in the interview. But it is a bit difficult that you may be called for the interview if you don't meet the minimum entry requirements. You might get filtered out in that filtering process.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Nali. There's a question. Yeah, there's a question there. Okay, attitude is great, rejection is bad, or leadership create a monster and lack of trust in the system. Can you help on this? What is your opinion on this?
Sorry, what did you say? My opinion on leadership?
Your opinion on, okay, attitude is great, rejection is bad, and bad leadership creates a monster and lack of trust in the system. So, what is your opinion on this? On how you could work yourself out to ensure that you create a good leadership and create a monster and lack of trust in the system. So, hello, did you
Trust,
hear me?
because as I said, leadership. Sorry. Yes. So what I would say, Stephen, is that um, for any relationship, leadership or otherwise,
Okay.
even in your family relationship, your friends, your social relationships, trust is the foundation of any relationship. So if you are not having trust with your followers, then that leader cannot be successful. For leadership to be successful, trust has to be there. Until you are trustworthy, until your followers are able to trust you, they are not going to follow you. So trust is extremely important. A leader, to be a good leader, has to have integrity, has to have honesty, has to be ethical, and has to be trustworthy for him to have followers. Otherwise, people will leave the job at the first opportunity available. They will only have followers and people who are loyal followers if you develop trust with them.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Nani. Thank you very much. Before we move to the next session, I don't know if you have any piece of advice for students outside on how they can build their leadership, even while seeking for a job, while seeking for roles, while seeking for internship outside.
Is there any further question for me?
No. Okay, I asked that. Do you have any? What are your pieces of advice for students outside that are working on their leadership skill while searching for a job, while searching for roles outside?
I would advise all the students to always work on their communication skills. If there's only one skill that we